official position is not to speculate on this subject. We can choose to let our minds explore other possibilities, to use our imaginations. For if we consider that astroscientists agree on one point, that the possibility of life elsewhere is not only quite probable, some feel it is there without a doubt. Let us suppose then that these objects are real space vehicles, extraterrestrial in origin, and not an illusion of the mind.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Somewhere in the Live Stream. I am your host, Ryan Sprague. I am a sick host tonight, so I want to... there we go already. I want to apologize in advance. I woke up with a horrible cough. I don't know what's happening. So... anyone else feeling it? Lick that like button, Kurt says. Don't lick it. Everyone's been touching it. That's probably how I got sick. Also, J. Allen Heineken, what's up, buddy? What's going on? Do you need a hug? You need a hug? I hope you're doing okay. Hello to everyone in the chat. Gareth is here. Welcome. Who else we got? Trudy is here. Hello. I'm just gonna go through. We're shouting everyone out tonight, guys. This is what people hate. They're always like, you just say people's names at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, it's a live stream. I edited it out in the podcast version. Anyways, story for another time. J. Allen Heineken, hello, hello. Jamie T. Spirit, Tree Spirit is here. Welcome, welcome. Robert Chafee, as always. Hi, guys. Disclosure ladies, happy Sunday. Right back at you. Donnie Falls is in the house. Amanda Rose, welcome. Kurt is here. Other Kurt is here. Rack to the future. I love that. Hello to Doc as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We have so much to cover in the world of UFOs. Hello, Mary. Good to see you as well. We're going to get feisty tonight. We're going to get feisty because your boy Ryan was just on Vetted. If you are not subscribed to Vetted, go subscribe to Vetted right now. awesome host, Patrick, over there. We just wrapped up an interview and he just dropped it literally as I was starting the live stream. So if you want to hear my thoughts on one of our stories tonight, you can go watch that. Link is in the chat right there that Suzanne put up for you. He just dropped it. It's like an hour long. Ooh, baby. I don't even remember what I said. I was half hopped up on meds. I am right now too. So this is going to be fun. But guys, please go check out that interview with Patrick over at Vetted. We talked all about the Ross Coulthart, Larry Warren interview that dropped about the Rendlesham Forest incident, which will be a big portion of our episode tonight as well. We will show some clips from what I consider kind of a train wreck of an interview with quote unquote claimed whistleblower Larry Warren of the Rendlesham Forest incident, and Ross and another witness of the event. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch, but Patrick and I break it down over there on his channel. So I was super honored and thankful that he asked me to be on there, and he shouted us out over here. So anyone from Vetters, welcome to somewhere in the live stream. We're happy to have you over here tonight, and can't wait to get Patrick back on the show at some point. Okay, so Super Chat, Super Stickers are open tonight if you do want to help out Anomicon, our free virtual conference that is coming to you guys on September 20th. We just announced some brand new speakers. Very excited. This is a online conference that you can watch right here on YouTube for free. You don't got to pay a dime unless you want to help us out and offset the costs of doing this free virtual conference for you guys. That money goes to compensating our speakers. It goes to a charity, and it goes to all of the resources that we need to live stream these events and everything in between. So any help you can do tonight would be greatly appreciated. Super Chat and Super Stickers will be open all night. We have a goal of 10 Super Chats or Super Stickers of any kind. You will greatly be helping out our free conference, Anomicon, on September 20th. Speaking of which, we got music again this year for Anomicon. So I thought I'd give you guys a little tease of the bands and music that you are going to hear on September 20th at Anomicon. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. Check this out. Just a taste of some of the music you will hear at Anomicon on September 20th. Check it out.
Others say all lights lead to the truth. How I want to believe the things you don't need your eyes to see. For knowing it all ain't part of the plan, so just enjoy the mystery.
The snarl stings your ears, sending shivers, fueling fears. You're not alone, no, not at all.
Now I have seen stranger things get turned upside down.
Yeah, I was rocking out. What do you guys think? We got some awesome bands that have given us permission to play their music this year at the event. You know, keep things fun, keep things fresh, keep things just, you know, in the vein of the anomalous. All the music you're going to hear has to do with the anomalous. So I'm super excited for that, and I hope you will join us. You can learn more at anomicon.com about all of our speakers and what they will be talking about. Other than that, guys, I will do this one more time. Last call, I guess. If you live in the UK or the continent of Europe, continental Europe, there we go, Ryan. I have books available here in the UK for the first time ever. I've never been able to like do this over here. So if you're interested in a personally inscribed book, a signed book, I have them for you UKers and Europeans. Reach out to me. There's an email in the show notes, ryan.sprague51@gmail.com, or reach out to me through social media, and I'd be happy to discuss further about getting you a signed book. I've got my most recent one, which is stories from all of you guys about your UFO sightings, stories from Somewhere in the Skies, and then I've got my original one, Somewhere in the Skies: A Human Approach to the UFO Phenomenon. Again, these will be signed and inscribed however you wish and shipped to you in the continent of Europe. Cool. There was one other thing. Oh, we are migrating over to SpectreVision this week, so I have been extremely busy with that. Not gonna lie, it's been a lot. It takes a lot of time and effort to move a podcast from one network to another, for various reasons. But the biggest reason being that we're going to be doing a lot more video with the podcast. Nothing changes here. Live streams stay the same. Podcast will be available everywhere it usually is. Nothing changes. It only gets bigger. So on Spotify, you will start seeing very cool video versions of our audio podcast. Our good friend Jason McClellan is doing all of it. I am so honored and excited. He also did the video for Anomicon this year, which you guys will see on the day of Anomicon. We will unleash that on you as well. But yeah, so, if things are a little wonky, if the episode doesn't come out exactly when it should on Monday, that's because we're still in the process of migrating everything. So I just ask for your patience and understanding while all of that happens. It is all for the better. Trust me. Speaking of the podcast, rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That is the Somewhere in the Skies podcast, which I now have a fun poster of. Had that done the other day. Got an Anomicon one coming your way too. People are asking what I was drinking. I'm drinking it's something they have in the UK here. It's like a lemon ginger powder that you put in hot water, like a tea. That's literally what tea is, right? Tea leaves instead of powder. But yeah, it's really good. And I'm hoping that it's going to help with this cold. Anyways, I am so out of it tonight, guys. I apologize. Suzanne's going to have to get the hook and take me off stage at some point. She will be coming in here in just a little bit. She's going to be talking about a lot of this stuff with me tonight. So yeah, get ready for that. Cool. Yeah, that's all I got to start off with. We have a poll over on YouTube. Make sure you vote in that at some point tonight. It is about Larry Warren and the Rendlesham Forest incident, which will be a big part of the latter half of tonight's conversation. So yeah, go ahead and vote in that, and we will get to that when we get to it. But let's start things off, guys, with Avi Loeb. He's back. He never leaves. He's like that person who's in the back of every dream you have, Freddy Krueger, right? Never thought I'd make that comparison. Avi Krueger. He's back in the news because he is now saying that the 3I Atlas interstellar object, which is in our solar system right now, that not only could it be possibly artificial of some sort, but now he thinks it might be nuclear. What? So Harvard scientist Avi Loeb is raising new concerns about the incoming comet 3I Atlas, now theorizing that it could be nuclear powered. He bases his hypothesis on a July 21st image captured by the Hubble Space Telescope and shared by NASA. That is the image you see on your screen right now if you're watching this on YouTube. He said the image shows a glow on the front end of the object, as if it were emitting light. So, this goes kind of against what a cometary tail would look like. It's on the front, so why is it emitting light forward? You would expect the light to be on the tail and the back. So is it like headlights of a spaceship of some sort? And it's so damn bright that he's wondering if this is nuclear power. Like if it is some sort of artificially or man-made technology and power behind it, in order to get interstellar through interstellar space, it's got to be using some crazy propulsion and energy. Could it be nuclear? But I'm doing a bad job of explaining this. So let's watch a clip from you guessed it, News Nation. They recently had Avi on to talk about this. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip for you guys, and we will talk a little bit more about our nuclear-powered comet object, interstellar object. I don't know what to call this thing anymore because Avi keeps flipping the script, baby. But let me find the video for you guys here. Here we go. Give this a watch.
Say this is not only an alien spaceship, but it's nuclear powered? Why are you saying that?
Well, thanks for having me. First, I should say that if the light that we observe from this object is reflection of sunlight, its size needs to be bigger than Manhattan Island, 20 kilometers or so. And there isn't enough rocky material in interstellar space to deliver a rock of that size earlier than 10,000 years from now. So the question is, what is it? And its orbit, the trajectory that it takes, is aligned with the plane of the planets around the sun to within 5 degrees. That's a chance of 1 in 500. And moreover, the timing
What does that tell you? What does that trajectory tell you?
Well, it indicates that perhaps it was designed by some intelligence.
That's something steering it.
Not necessarily, but the trajectory itself was chosen to be such that this object will pass close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. The chance of that happening, the timing of its arrival is perfect for that, with a likelihood of 1 in 20,000. And so I'm just saying we should observe it. It doesn't look like it's a random occurrence. The size, the trajectory, the fact that it comes so close to 3 planets in our solar system, and actually it comes closest to the sun on October 29th, when the Earth would be on the other side of the sun. We won't be able to observe it. I'm analyzing right now the best image we have of it. We don't have any evidence for gas around it in the spectrum that was taken, but we do see some fuzz, some halo of scattered light around it in front of it.
We're looking at the image now. What does that tell you, that halo of light around it?
Right, so usually for comets, you see a cometary tail trailing the objects from behind because it's being pushed by the radiation from the sun. The dust particles are pushed to be behind, to lag behind the object. In this case, what we are seeing is a glow in front of the object. And I'm analyzing first, if this is caused by dust. The amount of dust is very little. Over 6 months, the amount of dust that will be ablated from the object to generate this glow is just less than a millimeter thick. So it could be just dirt on a solid surface of such an object. And the question is, what is the nature of this object?
Quick, Avi, is there any reason to be concerned about this?
Yeah, you never know what kind of intent it has. And I think we should, in the future, have some international organization that decides how to respond to a visitor to our backyard, because that visitor may enter through the front door.
I love that. I do love his analogies. I'll give him that. Okay. So I see some of you calling BS in the chat. It seems like this news anchor feels the same way. I struggle. Obviously whenever Avi Loeb shows up, people get a little excited, hesitant. They're like, oh gosh, what is he saying now? And this is kind of the last straw for a lot of people. I've seen the chatter online and social media and stuff. People are like, come on, man. But look, we won't know until we know. He's posing theories, and crazier people have done it. What's interesting is that he is still advocating to put the Juno probe out to try to do something, record this thing, capture it, do something to try to figure out what it is, to intercept it, to study it. And he still hopes they'll do that. It seems close to impossible. I don't think that's even possible to be able to do it. But hey, it'll get closer to this object than anything else. So I don't know. This story just gets crazier and crazier as the weeks go on and this object gets closer. But hey, that's what it's all about, baby. That ticking time bomb is going to explode, and then we'll know the truth about what this interstellar object is or isn't. What do you guys think? Is this a nuclear-powered spaceship? Let me know in the chat. Interesting stuff. Let's move to our next story. Talk about mysterious objects. A UFO crashed in Poland. I'm just ripping the Band-Aid off. A UFO crashed in mother effing Poland. According to PAP, a Polish news agency, and the Associated Press, an unidentified flying object reportedly crashed into a cornfield and exploded in the eastern Poland village of Osyny early on Wednesday, August 20th. The incident took place at around 2 a.m. local time. Local authorities found burned metal at the scene, as well as windows broken in nearby houses, though no injuries were reported. Broken windows? Good Lord, that explosion or impact must have been pretty strong, if you ask me. Wow. So, no violations of Polish airspace from the neighboring countries of Ukraine nor Belarus were recorded prior to the incident, according to Poland's Armed Forces Operational Command. The defense minister later said that the object was suspected to be a drone. I saw someone just put that up in the chat there, confirming that analysis had already begun to determine whether it was used for military or smuggling. Both civilian and military investigators were participating in the investigation at the crash site, according to Lubin District Prosecutor. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's name. Who told the Associated Press, quote, "We have a lot of manpower. We have the army to help us. I hope that we will be able to finish the operation by the evening." So if you're looking at these images on YouTube, this is literally like the Polish officials out there guarding this cornfield because of whatever debris is left behind in that thing. Pretty crazy. And we must note, while they assume it's a drone, they can't be sure. If it is, that could be a big problem. So several intrusions into Polish airspace have been reported since Russia launched its invasion on Ukraine in 2022, with the country reminding others within the European Union and NATO how close it is to the ongoing war. So we do have to keep that in mind. The most likely culprit of whatever this object was that crashed is probably a drone of some sort. But we won't know. Will we ever know? These images remind me of like the Roswell crash. But many, many, many years later. I don't know. This thing, it made headlines. It made it into the Associated Press. And while it could have to do with a Russian intrusion with drones, it was interesting nonetheless. And a lot of the headlines said UFO. So that's what it is for now, guys. It's a UFO. And it crashed in a cornfield. How cliche. Interesting stuff. Russian drone, a lot of you guys are saying. Russian drone. Oh, now I just want a white Russian. That's like my favorite go-to cocktail. Suzanne's waving her finger. No. Not a creamy liquor fan? No? Okay. Oh, shoot. I just spilled my weird concoction all over me. Apologies, everyone. Got it on my boobs. There is a lot of tech being used in this war, but maybe that would attract more legitimate UFOs and UAP, Amanda says. Interesting. What a good thought. I mean, if you look at the work being done right now with Beatrice Villarreal and her team and them correlating and triangulating UFO events that happened throughout history with like nuclear incidents, they found a huge amount of these things. So you never know. You know, we hear about UFOs in wartime all the time. Are 99% of them, you know, spy craft, drones? You betcha. But there's that 1% that remains unknown. And for right now, at least, this cornfield has a UFO in it. Okay. We're going to move to a story I never thought I would ever talk about again on the live stream. And that is the mummies. But I can't do it alone. Because I don't think I can do it alone. I will go crazy. So, Dr. Garry Nolan was recently on the Disclosure Team YouTube channel with our good friend Vinny Adams, and Vinny was asking him about a ton of different stuff. But one of the big things was Vinny asked him about the Nazca mummies and if he had ever been involved with actual scientific examination of these mummies brought forward by the likes of Jaime Maussan and people like that. And this was really kind of the first time that Garry Nolan has officially sort of acknowledged his involvement with all of this, his thoughts before it, during it, and after it. And what he said was pretty interesting. We are going to play a clip from Vinny Adams, brought to us via Patrick over at Vetted, who covered this story as well this past week. So you will see the little V Vetted symbol up in the corner there. So shout out to Patrick once again, and a huge shout out to Vinny as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play the video, and then I'm gonna bring Suzanne in, and we're gonna start malaying about the mummies, as it were. No, not the mummies, James Crisis. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's in the news, and Gary's responses to Vinny's questions were interesting. So we're gonna cover it. We're gonna cover it. So I'm gonna play the video, and then we'll bring in Suzanne, and we're gonna get a mummified. Let's find that video for you. Here we go.
I saw in your thread many times, have I been asked to study the mummies? And yes, I probably a few dozen times, and by various people, but by serious people able to actually enact an outcome with the mummies or with money behind it. The first time I was asked, one of the requirements was that every moment would be filmed. And I said, no, I'm not going to be filmed. This is not the Kardashians. That's not how science is done. Sure. My students certainly wouldn't put up with it, and Stanford wouldn't allow it. Anyway, and so that's the first part of that. And second was, I said, look, I need a whole bunch of money, not for me personally. I've got, frankly, plenty of money. And so I'd always like more, but, I can get on. And so the issue was, I estimated, I think online somewhere, about $5 million to do it right, which would be paying for postdoc researchers of various types and then bioinformaticians of various types. And essentially, the first thing we would do is collect all the data that's already known, figure out what's usable, what's good preliminary data that would cause us to go look in a next direction, and not set it aside, but put it aside in a way that said, okay, well, there's all that preliminary data over there. Now let's, based on this, do the next thing that, we should do. And then everything needs to be collated, the instruments used, the methods used, et cetera, because it's all going to have to go into a peer-reviewed paper where you can't just make stuff up about what the methods were. You can't, well, I think I did this. No, that's not what you can do. And that's not what you will do if you're going to do it properly. So, and it would be probably 3 or 4 different teams of people that would need to be brought in to do it right. And so no one was willing do it that way. And so I said, no, I won't. I won't do it. I said, there's plenty of good scientists in South America, but they clearly aren't being given the resources they need, nor the power that would allow them to keep results quiet as they're being generated. I mean, I could probably be able to get in the likes of the guys who did the Neanderthal work,
Right.
if they felt that I provided them sufficient information that would make it interesting to them and worth their time, and not get caught up in the circus that can be generated around these things. That's the reason why a lot of serious scientists who I know are interested in it, but won't touch it with a 1,000-foot pole because of the antics that go on. I mean, the similar thing happened, I'm just going to be honest, with the Bugosphere. Jaime Maussan contacted me soon after he had recovered the sphere. And I said, okay, great. And he called me. He said, can you help? What should I do? And I said, well, you should get a mobile X-ray machine. You can probably find one at a veterinarian. Do you happen to know a veterinarian? Because they would have one for doing X-rays of cows and horses and things. And you need this. And so he literally managed to get it almost the next day. And it sent me some of the first results. And I said, great. Okay, so let's keep this quiet. Let's do this, and this. And now I need it at this angle and at this angle. And he said, okay, great, I'll do that. And then I woke up the next morning, Saturday morning, it was all over Twitter. And I just wrote Jaime, I said, this isn't what I thought we talked about. And his answer was, well, we need to get this information out because someone's going to suppress it. Well, here we are now, 6 months later? And where are we? Nowhere. Maybe Jaime's doing something. I don't doubt his desire, but I said I won't be involved with this now because I can't trust that the information won't be ending up on Twitter the next day before we've had an even chance to determine what it is that is going on.
I mean, it just sounds like it's just one big complete mess. And rather than sticking on this subject, I suppose my last question would be to limit any more sort of damage to the credibility of them. What would you ideally like to see, or what do you think academia would like to see the next step be in legitimizing it any further?
Well, I think the anatomists have had their say, and they say that they can't see it. Any evidence of construction in the limited number of samples, the large ones, not the little puppet things that got pulled out at the Mexican Congress. That did all the damage necessary to destroy the credibility of anything that came after. The DNA damage, the DNA analysis that I just told you about.
Sure, right.
That would be the one that I think should be done first.
Okay. Oh boy. Kind of throwing Jaime under the bus there. With good reason. Jaime Maussan deserves to be thrown under the bus on all of this. Because even if he is genuine in his belief that these things are real and authentic, the way he rolls this stuff out like a circus does nobody any good at all. And clearly, Garry Nolan wants nothing to do with this because of how Jaime Maussan deals with these things, the mummies, the bugospheres, all of it. Garry Nolan is super brilliant and very cool. We have a Garry Nolan fan in the chat. I see a lot of you guys saying this reminds you of the Russian creature that was found in the snow. That is a hoax. That is definitively 100% a hoax. I actually wrote an article about that case almost 10 and a half years ago. It was two Russian teenagers who filled chicken skins that they got from a grocery store with bread and made an alien and put it out in the snow. That is not a real alien creature, period. Okay, I just had to get that in there because I know Jesse Michaels brought it up in his episode he just did on this whole Nazca Mummy thing, where he went there and actually spoke to Jaime and was a part of the the examinations. Which is funny because Garry Nolan literally said, "The last thing I want is cameras on me when I'm doing analysis of these types of things. That's not how you do it." And now Jesse Michaels travels to Peru and does an entire documentary on it. So, oh my gosh. But again, these are all my qualms. But let's bring in a voice of reason in all of this. And let's get her thoughts, because I know she knows that I never wanted to talk about the mummies again, yet here we are. So here we go, guys. The one and only Suzanne. Welcome back. Oh, you're on mute.
How is everyone?
How you doing, guys? Let her know in the chat. I'll try to cover the chat while you're in here as well, Suzanne. But okay. What did you make of Garry finally talking about his quote-unquote involvement with all of this stuff?
Well, I think finally this conversation is happening the way it should happen. And I know this group has heard me talk about missing evidence and what that might mean in and of itself, that something is missing. And I think you're watching that concept here. So Jaime Maussan is doing absolutely everything except what needs to be done in order to have veracity around the testing. How hard is it to let a scientist of trustworthiness do a DNA test? How hard is it to keep things under wraps until the science is done and considered and evaluated by the scientists who are involved, like Garry Nolan? And what a loss. You know, I'm a little bit scared of Garry because of that temper, but he would have been the perfect voice because he suffers no fools and no foolishness. So a real loss in terms of this opportunity that I see for this to have actually taken some concrete turns. But I submit that by choosing what's been chosen here, you can make some assumptions.
Did you watch any of that Jesse Michaels documentary about all of this?
I haven't.
Either.
It's on the never-ending list of things to watch.
Now, I saw a clip, and he did talk about how frustrating it was to get any actual answers from these scientists while he was there. Some stuff he found very compelling, some stuff he didn't. He thinks the DNA testing was done very poorly with a lot of this, so that says something. Also, he brought up the whole issue of, let's get this stuff over to the US and get it studied by American scientists. Now, I struggle with that because when this all started happening, I remember I even said it on the live stream, the only way this is going to be properly done is in the United States. And that was wrong of me to say, because I think that does kind of take away from the legitimacy of good, true science that is done in other countries. I didn't want it to come off sounding nationalistic or even racist or any way that, because I clearly didn't
way,
mean it.
Ryan. Yeah, I didn't take your comment that way. I think we're comfortable with what we're comfortable with, and you would be just as comfortable with Garry Nolan testing those mummies here in America versus testing them in South America. It wouldn't matter to you. It's the science behind it. So I think we just need to look at who's doing what and who's not doing what.
Yeah. It's a really good way of putting it. I know Jesse Michaels also said, hey, I will foot the bill to get those things to America, no matter how much it is. If I got to go to the cultural preservation people in Peru and pay them off to get these things to the US, I will. Yeah, which is a problem. That's
it is a problem, and it's a
itself.
legal problem and a science problem as well.
Exactly.
Because you have to have a serious chain of custody, command, and control on these things, just like you would in a case, to make
sure we don't know.
Which that's right. And so I don't that could have been a stumbling block. It may have been why he went down there. I'd love to know, but we're not going to know unless someone tells
Thank you.
us.
Thank you for bringing up the chain of custody. We still don't know where these things came from, who
Nope.
they originally were owned by. Apparently, they were stolen at one point. They've changed hands many times. They were rolled out in glass caskets in front of Congress. Like, this is just, it's a circus. And everything Jaime Maussan does is a circus. And I just don't understand why anyone would want to be connected to anything that man does anymore. And I think Garry Nolan made the right choice at the end of the day.
I do too. I would have made the same one. No one wants bad science attached to their, reputations any more than lawyers want bad law attached to their reputations. Do it right, do it well, and then it is what it is. But I just think maybe that's not what Mr. Maussan wants.
Exactly. Amanda says here, it's how you present things that matters. I think there's something to some of the mummies, but this information needs to be rolled out in a calculated and digestible way. 100%.
Right.
Yeah. Very, very well.
And do all the testing together in a place. Get it all done properly or with wings of experts that you trust and know and who are in on what the rules of the game are. But I can imagine the reversal that Dr. Nolan felt when he wakes up to the Twitter sphere, which is already such a cesspool, but to wake up and find what looked to me like would have been a betrayal. Straight up betrayal. If you or I had done that to the other one, we would feel betrayal. Yeah. So I'm not surprised that he exited very quickly, stage left.
Good theater term. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we skirted by. I
can't believe you're covering
story.
this. Those guys. Let me just tell you, I don't know how many times something would happen with these mummies, either on Twitter or the news, whatever, and I'd say, take a look at this. No, I'm not getting it. And then it came in on the outline this week. Like, I'm giving up putting it on the outline.
I know you would put it on your outline and I'd go highlight, delete. No offense to you whatsoever, but here we are. And I do value the thoughts and opinions on Garry Nolan. And again, like you said, the fact that he has exited stage left, that's all I need. That's all I need on this. So.
Says everything to me.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an interesting story. We have a new quote unquote UFO. The term whistleblower is thrown about so much nowadays.
It is. And let's just use it with a caveat. We have somebody with an opinion and some experience on top. We're going to call them a whistleblower. We don't really know for sure that's what they're doing, whistleblowing, but we'll call it that for this video.
I like that. Let's go with that. Let's get our wonderful man Garry off the screen there, and let's bring in our slideshow. How do I get this? There we go. Okay, so in a recent interview with UAP GERB, interesting name, former United States Marine Corps Sergeant Roderick Castle detailed a harrowing experience during the Hunter-Warrior Advanced Warfighting Experiment in Southern California in March of 1997. That date of March 1997 should ring some alarm bells for many of you out there. That was the same month as the Phoenix Lights incident, same year as well. This happened in Southern California, which apparently some of what was seen in Phoenix that night came from California at one point, which is interesting, and then went over to Mexico. But this was a very interesting interview. I haven't been able to watch the whole thing, but I did grab a clip that UAP GERB himself put out about Roderick describing what this thing was, what he saw. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip. And then I have an interesting little connection to this story. I think I could be way off base, but I'm starting to connect dots, and it's pretty interesting, Suzanne. I'd love to know what you think. But let's go ahead and watch this interview with UAP GERB, this clip from the interview. It's like 2 hours long. It is one of the most detailed, well-documented.
We're not going to watch 2 hours, everybody.
No, I promise. We've got enough videos for you guys tonight, which I should be speeding through this. I apologize because we got Rendlesham to get to. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch this video, and then we'll talk a little bit more on the other side. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, let's find Mr. Roderick Castle here. Here we go.
Our jets, and we did emergency duty, on 12-hour shifts. Me and my guys, we were overnight, so we were 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And a routine night, it's hot out there. We're just hanging out near the Humvee, probably in chairs or hanging out in the back. We get a call on the radio that there's, either unexplained or unauthorized something about flare activity in the desert. Maybe 3 to 4 miles out, maybe 5. We come over a hill, or yanking the trailer behind us, maybe driving 30, 35 miles an hour. We come over a hill, and all 5 of us see it. It is a black, from that angle, equilateral triangle, meaning all sides the same, with 3 white, yellowish orbs in each corner. And possibly some kind of benting on the sides, but definitely rounded on the edges, not pointy. That was there hanging in the sky. I say hanging because there wasn't enough wind for something even, I know aerodynamics, something that if it was thin enough, maybe it could hover slightly. So this is what it would look like if you were looking straight up at it. Of course, that's not the angle. It was more, if I want to use that, a soup bowl going forward, but no light emitting from here, but a yellowish, whitish orb kind of light, like a ball, a sphere had been embedded into the underside. Accompanying it were about 30 military type dudes with black uniforms, and 5 to 6, can't remember exactly, vehicles. Look like F-150s, F-350s, the big trucks, jacked up, all black, all matte, some with canopies, some with antennas. This is all coming in a flash, right? Mm-hmm. Within 30 seconds of coming down this hill. The minute we came up over, about half of them, maybe 15, came running up the hill towards us in V formations, like with guns. Yeah, right up, harsh language. Yeah. But get your hands down, get your hands down, nah, get your hands down. Not shooting, but looking like they're ready to. Very close to our heads, as if they didn't want us to look at anything. We felt, my initial reaction was we f***ed up, we came upon something that we shouldn't be involved in, and I'm just going to comply because I'm scared.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh, right.
So, what do you think? Initial thoughts on the testimony of Roderick Castle?
I saw Pat Gallagher say in the chat that he loves these kinds of stories, and I do too, and here's why. When a trained observer is involved, it is a different ballgame to me. They are trained to scoop up absolutely every piece of information they can in a short period of time. And that's what you're watching this guy. To come away with details like rounded but triangular edges, a soup bowl inserted under, in the center of the bottom, just amazing. And then to be treated the way these trained observers were treated by these other guys, first of all, it had to be absolutely terrifying. And clearly they were not supposed to be there. So what an event to have lived through. And I suspect they're pretty lucky to have walked away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, what I found interesting about this incident, and I want to dig deeper into it with some more research before I start really going into a lot of this, but the connections made by UAP Gerb and Roderick in this interview led them to think that what this thing is quote unquote an alien reproduction vehicle of sorts, meaning it was a man-made craft using reverse engineered technology, possibly extraterrestrial. We've heard this for a very long time, that this is what the black triangles are. And a lot of that makes sense in my opinion. And they traced it back to different places, especially when it came to this group that Roderick was a part of, or this training thing called the Hunter Warrior Advanced Warfighting Experiment in Southern California, where this took place. They made a connection to a place called Lemoore Naval Air Station. And immediately when I heard that, my ears perked up. Because a few years ago, I was contacted by a former Navy serviceman named Angelo Aceta, who came to me and said, I've been listening to your show. I want to come forward with something I experienced, and I don't know where else to go. I had 5 separate UFO encounters on a military installation. And I was like, wait, hold up. What is going on here? And he detailed every single event that happened to him. It was all of the same craft, and it was at Lemoore Naval Air Station, where this craft supposedly has a connection to. Now, I'm going to share the article quickly here to kind of run through this with everyone. So the gentleman you see on the screen here is Angelo Aceta, and you can find a chapter on him in my latest book, Stories from Somewhere in the Skies. He's been on the Witness Accounts series as well. But when I heard that this Black Triangle event that UAP Gerb and Roderick were talking about had a connection to Lemoore Naval Air Station, I immediately went to my article. Now, let me go down a little bit here. This happened in 2011 when the event started happening to Angelo Aceta. But look at this rendering of what he saw. I had this made.
Wow.
According to his description, and it's exactly like what Roderick
Dead
said.
on.
So I just found that fascinating.
Crazy too, because this is another example of if it's our tech, even if we reverse engineered it, why are we not telling our military guys on the ground that we're out doing this stuff to avoid this conflict? So that always sticks in the back of my mind. It makes me wonder, yes, I think it's probably reverse engineered tech from NHI, but that doesn't make sense in terms of why we continue to do this over these sites where it's going to cause a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, men with guns are dealing with this, right? Yeah. So it's crazy.
Well, and the thing with Angelo's stories is that it happened on 5 separate occasions in the span of like a year and a half. He went to his superiors and reported seeing this black triangle over Lemoore Naval Air Station, and they told him, were you drinking? Were you drinking tonight? Oh my God, to the point where he felt so embarrassed that by the 3rd time, he stopped reporting it.
Yeah, they'll teach you to shut up, won't they?
Yep. And the way that Roderick described what he saw and how the craft moved and what it looked like is exactly how Angelo, it just, some 10, 15 years apart, mind you, but like same sort of craft connecting to Lemoore. And here's the other thing. I was on the phone with the press office at Lemoore Naval Air Station for over an hour because I was inquiring if there had ever been reports of a black triangle UFO over their base. And they were like, what is going on? And I'm like, I have a witness who wishes to remain anonymous, but he worked at your Naval Air Station and he had 5 separate. And I went into detail about each of the incidents. And I could tell they were like writing stuff down, like, huh. And what was his name? And I said, no. A chance. Not a freaking chance. Yeah. And they were like, okay, well, we have never had any reports like that of a black triangle here.
Which we know can now be false.
Yeah. But by the end of that hour-long conversation, Suzanne, I swear I was the one being interrogated.
Of course.
So I found that fascinating. Just this small connection. It could mean nothing, but it could mean something. So I would love to get in touch. If anyone can get me in touch with Roderick, I have reached out to him on Twitter. I've reached out to UAP Gerb. I just want to get these guys talking and see if there can be some sort of connection between Lemoore Naval Air Station.
I think that's a wonderful idea. They need to talk to each other.
We'll see.
And what is that? Did you say like 13 years later? So this is still going on. I think you said 13 years, 2011.
Something like that.
Yeah, 14 years. Unbelievable, Ryan. Good catch on your guy here.
Thank you. I mean, I'm so proud. It's one of my most read articles ever. And I put a lot of time and research into it. Chris Mellon made comments. I had David Marler, the Black Triangle, preeminent UFO researcher, talk about it as well. So, yeah, I think this story is just beginning, and I think it's a bigger story than anyone can imagine when it comes to these alien reproduction.
Exactly.
As they were. So,
exactly.
Yeah. If anyone's interested in reading the article, you can find it on my Medium page. I think there's a link in the show notes as well. But yeah, I look forward to hearing more from Roderick in the future about all of
Pretty
this.
amazing.
Yeah. Before we move on, Suzanne, I want to give a special shout out to Kurt. $10 super chat. Keep up the great work, Ryan and Suzanne. Always look forward to Sunday lives. Thank you, Kurt.
So
we
sweet.
do too.
We do too. We do
We
too.
do. We do. And yeah, guys, if you want to help out the show and help out Anomicon, Super Chat and Super Stickers are open. We have a goal of 10 tonight. We certainly never expect that, but we appreciate anything that you guys can do to help support our free conference coming to you guys September 20th. Okay, cool. So this brings us to the core of our conversation tonight, Suzanne. And that wow.
Yeah.
The suspense was killing me, and it's literally killing me right now.
We
My
both
cold
had a
is
week.
kicking
We've both
in.
been sick. I told Ryan on somebody's post somewhere talking about it that we'd gotten skiff flu. That's what happened. Because that's what we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
Everybody who did or did not have skiff flu, and then we got it. Yeah.
You know what? I live in the middle of nowhere. It's not easy for me to get a flight to Washington. Okay, Suzanne. I've been there 3 times. I'm sorry. I had to.
Got your
Shout
reasons.
out.
Got your reasons. That's right.
Shout out to Lou Elizondo if he's watching this. But let's move to another UFO whistleblower story. And that is in the form of a new documentary that is going to be coming out soon. It's in various theaters in the UK right now. But it's a documentary called Capel Green. And it features a gentleman named Larry Warren, who we are going to dig into deep in the next, I don't know, however long this takes us. But Larry is quote unquote the first whistleblower to come forward from the Rendlesham Forest incident of 1980. We won't go into detail. 3 consecutive nights in December of 1980, things happened in a forest called Rendlesham Forest, which was between 2 joint military bases, RAF Woodbridge and Bentwaters. And allegedly, a craft landed in the middle of the forest, and over 60 military personnel were witness to this. Several have gone on to say that they touched the actual craft. Others said that things were tracked on radar. There are actual audio tapes recorded by the deputy base commander at the time, Colonel Charles Halt. You can hear those audio tapes. I don't have them on me right now, but they are really unsettling when you listen to those things. And you hear in real time what the colonel and his men are seeing happen. And what they basically are describing is this elliptical looking thing in the sky that was almost blinking. It looked like a big eye. And at one point, it was piercing laser precision beams down to the ground. And we would later discover that those beams were going towards nuclear bunkers. We were housing nuclear weapons on the bases at the time, which we were not supposed to be doing. It was completely against treaty, but the U.S. had snuck nuclear ordnance into England as they were working these joint military exercises, just in case, height of the Cold War, got to be ready for anything. But this was all done under the shadows, and then this UFO event happened. Crazy stuff. A little bit more setup. A book was written called Left at East Gate. It became an instant British bestseller. It was co-authored by Peter Robbins, who many of you know is my mentor in the UFO field, UFO researcher, and he co-authored it with this man you see on your screen, Larry Warren, the quote-unquote first whistleblower of this event, who, as a security airman at the time, says that he was a part of this. That has changed and morphed throughout the years, but that's kind of my really butchered version of all of this, Suzanne. But what is your familiarity with the 1980 Rendlesham incident, if any?
I'll tell a funny story on myself. As a girl, or as probably a teenager, I was up late and watched this show on a UFO that had appeared over a forest in England. And it was maybe a 30-minute show at the time. And the next morning, I was telling my mom and dad and siblings about this show that I saw and how interesting it was and a little bit scary. And this was the premise of it. And there were all these military guys, and that I couldn't wait for the next episode, but I didn't know what the show was. That I'll date myself here. You had to have a TV guide at the time, the old magazine, the TV guide, to figure out what, if you missed the front end of a show, what a show was and when it would be on again. And it took forever. It took weeks for me to figure out this wasn't a TV show. This was a retelling of the Rendlesham Forest incident. And so it's my second favorite one. And my first one being Aerial School. But this one, because there are so many trained observers involved and telling their truth about it. So that's my involvement with Rendlesham. I've probably the longest known UFO story for me.
Okay. All right. Now, what I think I'm going to do here is the reason we're really talking about this is because Ross Coulthart, who will come up twice in tonight's episode, Ross Coulthart did an interview with Larry Warren, another gentleman named Steve Longaro, and the director of the film Capel Green. I don't have his name with me. I do apologize.
I'm terrible at that.
Oh my gosh. Yes. But they went on with Ross to talk about the new documentary, and it was anything but. This became an 2-hour long conversation of Larry Warren just like going off it was a train wreck, the interview, in my personal opinion.
Agree.
There were times where Ross Coulthart literally said, I need you to stop and just tell me what the F you saw out there.
Dion Johnson, Ryan. Dion Johnson's the
Dion
director.
Johnson. Thank you. And the reason there's a lot of controversy behind Larry Warren, the quote-unquote original whistleblower, is for reasons we're going to get to in a minute. What I want to do now is play an extremely rare home video that was made by a group. They were called the East Midlands UFO Research Association, and they shot this video in March of 1994, which is 2 years prior to Larry Warren and Peter Robbins publishing their book on the event. And this was back when Peter and Larry were just starting to kind of get to know each other and work together on their book. And they had a very good, trusting relationship going into this book. So I want to play that for you right now. And this is Larry Warren back then in 1994, describing Capel Green, which is this new documentary, describing the area, Capel Green, and what he saw, what he experienced out there, allegedly. So let's go ahead and play that. It's a little long, guys, so please bear with us, but I do think it's worth it as we move through this story. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch this clip from 1994, where we'll see a young Peter Robbins and an even younger Larry Warren. Check this out.
To the logging road that we've walked in on, to this area called Capel Green, which was the site of the incident on the third night of incidents for RAF Bentwaters. You folks that are with us right now are the first English UFO researchers who have ever been walked into this area by a eyewitness who was involved in that night. With the exception of myself, our friends the Warnocks, to the best of our knowledge, no one has come back to this area with an awareness of where they were, what happened. Here we go, follow the man.
Well, the first thing that happened, this is the field. We came to this rise and I stopped right about here. There was security police all over the place. This tree was illuminated a yellow, and I used it as a marker that night. Off in the distance you'll see a farmer's house, and the light on the left second floor window was illuminated, and there was a white car parked there. You could see it. This thing illuminated everything. There was a circular... Peter, go to the dead center. You're going to bear to your... No, you're going to bear more left. Peter's heading right now to the approximate... Keep going. Stop. He is probably in dead center where this illuminated, transparent light on the ground. It was a foot in height. It wasn't hovering or anything. It was a circular thing probably 50 feet across. It was self-illuminated. You could see through it at times. This field was all green grass, just like you see out there in December of 1980. And you could see through it at times. Right over here, Peter, walk to about where the cameras were set up. You want to come back this way, and you want to stop right there. These were there were Air Force or our base photo labs or public affairs cameras set up. One big motion picture camera and one small, well, at that time video technology was quite bulky, smaller video camera. There was a lot of personnel over in this area. The second fence was not here. We were told to move on into the field. Sergeant Bastinza and I stopped right about in this area. The first thing I noticed that I watched the cameras shooting all the while. This mist object was a good 20 feet away from me. It was only this high off the ground. It was not hovering, and that's been misrepresented through the years. It was about this big, high, and we were watching it. There was a lot of security police from D-Flight. 2 English bobbies are right over here. Over in that way, some senior personnel started to move into the area from beyond that big log over there. If you see that tree turned down, that's where the senior officers started to come into the field. As we were watching this, there were disaster preparedness personnel out here with Geiger counters going in a almost half clockwise motion around this thing on the ground. The next thing I know, Sergeant Bastinza nudges me on the arm. I see the lights on in that house. I'm saying, Christ, somebody's watching this also. Still, again, you wouldn't have thought this was a flying... It wasn't. It was a solidified mist. That's all I can describe it as. Sergeant Bastinza knocked me on the arm, and 2 cows were walking. At this time, there had to be farm life here, farm animals. 2 cows walked up and were staring at this mist also on the ground. I never saw them again after this next event I described happened. They were just... We never saw them again. I can't say what happened. I used this tree as a marker. I think we've shown that. It was illuminated, and I said, I have to come back to this area. And sure enough, that tree is no different than it was. From that stand of center trees right there that crop out toward this field, I noticed a small red light over the top of them. It moved in. We thought it was an aircraft. I did, because the runway is just about 1.5 miles that way. And it moved in over the field in a downward arc so fast, stopped. It hovered about 20 feet off the ground. It was the size of a basketball, American basketball, self-illuminated, not quite red yet. That's the closest I can describe it. As soon as you could get a fix on it, this thing exploded. Light showered down where Peter is. This is how close I was to this event happening, and everyone else. Showered down on this object. I can't tell you how long that happened, but my eyes were flashed out. Some personnel ran right back over this rise into the brush, and a lot of us were left just standing here in shock. In the place of that mist was a solid, all I can say is solid, I didn't touch it, machine. It was about 30 feet across the base. It rose to about 25 feet in a sharp angle. It had delta appendages that came out of it. I can't tell for sure if there was landing gear or not. It was so low to the ground. No windows, no markings, no flag or country of origin, nothing. You could hardly look at it dead on. If you looked at it at the side of your peripheral vision, you'd get a shape of it. And there it was, clear as a bell. We could not move. At one point, through this event, which seems like a dream state at this point, if you can imagine, I couldn't, even thinking about it now, can't really comprehend the full dimensions of it. Myself, Sergeant Bustinza, one of the disaster preparedness gentlemen, and my shift commander moved in on this object. We were ordered to move in on it for whatever reason. I walked like this, clearly. And I'll use probably within this much distance. Say Peter is the front face of the object. Standing this close, we cast shadows upon it that went up at an angle. The head Geiger counter is near it. We had to walk back and forth. We walked at this angle, and we had no armament, so there was no useful reason for this. And we walked back. There was a light that would come down on the shadows of our heads. Now, to cause a shadow effect on this object is strange because we couldn't get lighting equipment into this forest. None of them would work. But it was pulling our shadows. It's starting to rain, but the next thing that happened is that we went back to our position. Cameras are rolling all the while right over here. We went to a covered wagon, which is the whole object was surrounded by security police at intervals of about 10 feet between a man all the way around it. There was a lot of personnel out here. This light moved out from the side over here. I'll show you. And it moved like this. And it came around. It was one piece of light this wide. It was about this high off the ground. The light split into three individual, not round things, but almost cylinders of light, and then started to dim. Within the light, you could see clearly what looked like eyes, facial features, bright clothing, and some other device or something, but the legs and the lower extremities you really couldn't make out. It was almost translucent, a bluish gold light. This thing stood here, it floated here, it moved toward the front. There was a lot of activity, cameras flashing all the while, and I'm standing right there watching. I was about 25 feet away from all this activity. He was looking down. These things, mind you, were about this big physically. Off the ground still. There was no standing, no three-dimensional shape to them. About this point, I'm over here, and my boss, my shift commander, tapped us out. He was saying, return to the vehicles. We went back up over the rise, the way we came in exactly, headed back to the trucks, and now back in the parking area just after I left, we were seeing strange lights in the sky.
Okay.
Wow.
So, as an attorney, what are your thoughts on this guy's testimony?
Reading that body language, facial expression, he's telling the truth. He's telling what he saw. Truth becomes a problem for this particular witness later. So unfortunately, I know that. And so it does get in my head and keeps me from having what I would call a clean read. But he looks like he's telling the truth.
I would have to agree, actually. That came off to me as like genuine, and he was reliving it. Every detail. It was crazy, which can be a problem when something is too detailed as well.
Sure.
However, there was something about that footage there that I want to thank the East Midlands UFO Research Association. This was something I had never really seen before.
I've never seen it until now.
Yeah. And
but he too is a trained observer. So the fact that you would see additional minute detail doesn't surprise me in the least.
Good point. Yeah, that's true. Now, the reason I wanted to show that is because let's fast forward some 80, 90 to some like almost 50 years later, where Larry Warren, who is featured in this new documentary, Cable Green, was interviewed by Ross Coulthart. And I'm just going to play the first clip. Okay. Again, guys, I apologize. These are a little lengthy, but I want to get in as much information as we can. Here is Ross trying to get Larry Warren to describe what happened, because the reason this is kind of making news is because this was all said to have happened on the third night of events in Rendlesham Forest, and that it had happened in that basically this. How do I even explain this? This is the problem with the Rendlesham case. This was happening in conjunction with other events that were supposedly happening that night. Yet Larry Warren is the only one to ever come forward and describe these beings, this landed craft, that these beings were like entities that he saw, and that people were filming this and stuff like that, and the film was confiscated, this that. Let's watch this clip because if anything, it's cringe, and it's Larry Warren as I know him, and as Peter knows him, and many others know him as well. So let's go ahead and find this for you guys here. Okay, here we go.
What you witnessed, please.
Let me just fill you in a little bit, Ross, because, God bless you, you've been able to avoid this thing for so many years. I am the whistleblower of these events. No one else is at all. I'm honored to have my brother Steve on there. We went through security forces training school together. He was the room next door to me. I'm honorably discharged veteran, just like my brother Steve's there. We were there to do a job. We didn't go to see flying saucers and all. Just a few things on what you said, and I'm not being rude to you, Ross. I'm just from New York, and we're pretty direct kind of people, like Australians, I find. Steve's from California. They do it in other ways. But the darndest thing is there is the first night with Peniston Burroughs, Ed Cabansag, who they ignore, and Bud Steffens, I think, was on the relay. Had no knowledge of those events. The second night is a lieutenant named Bonnie Tamplin. The third night, you see, the thing is, the night halts out, a lot more happened. I never said Halt was in front of an alien anything. I did think I saw him in this clearing where we had the vehicles. We turned on our weapons to the Red Hats armorers. That was in the forest. Halt has been nothing, and I know he lost his wife. I have some humanity. I ain't going after no one. But this man slandered my not just him, by the way. The coffee clutch of ufology. They just jump on anything new. They don't do due diligence, don't look at anything. They read the insane ramblings of a woman from Leeds. But let me get back that they're on the third night, and there is only one third night, and that is the night that people were called out there to back up the original group. Halt was on a whole other side of that field. Myself, numerous others, not just me saying it. I mean, you got Sergeant Bastinza saying it. You have numerous others. You got Mike Verano saying it back 40 years ago.
Okay, can you stop for a moment?
Sure, just 45 years.
Larry, because, yeah, just stop for a moment, because what you're doing is a kind of a word vomit, and I can understand your irritation at being accused of being a fraud by Colonel Holt. But let's deal with the specifics. So,
fair enough.
Colonel Holt claims that he went out on the evening. I think of the evening of the 27th going into the 28th of December.
Correct.
And that's what he describes in his memo. And just so our audience understands, so we don't get completely lost in the complexity, a night earlier on the evening of the 26th into the 27th, as you say, Peniston, Cabansag, and John Burroughs had gone into the forest. And that is where they'd had the encounter with what Peniston describes as the craft, the landed craft.
Right.
And
that's a standalone account, by the way.
Right. And you're not saying that you were in that particular incident?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, never have. No.
Okay, so
no.
But are you saying that Colonel Holt is not being truthful when he says that he wasn't with you in the forest on the evening of the 27th into the 28th?
Right, Ross, thanks. I'm not saying he's not truthful. He was not with me. I've never said he was with me. His party, a small party of men, were on the far side of this field, Capel Green, and went off into another field. What I describe, and others, this is the big crux of the Rendlesham thing they don't want you to know, which has been on record for years, is that there was an object on the ground in the middle of the field. It was filmed, photographed. Even British police were there. There were two of them. Cameras were taken. There was a ring of people. We were disarmed. Holt would have been aware of these events, and I would tell him. I've met him in person I knew him on the base. I met him in 93, I think, with another person I wrote my book with, which I shouldn't have. But I got the Holt memo out. I got the audio tape out. I gave it to CNN for no money. I'm the guy that did all that and named the witnesses, and that was 43 years ago. I could tell.
Okay, Larry, I'm gonna rein you in, my friend. Yeah, you've got to stop whinging about being attacked.
And I like my ex-wife.
I want you to answer the question. Okay, so I want a clear witness statement that gives me a description of what you saw. It's really important because what you're describing is really important. It's a completely separate craft sighting and entity sighting.
Well, there is.
Completely separate.
Okay, forgive me, but I'll talk to anyone that swears as much as me. On the field was this triangular object. It was in the place of that mist. It was not on legs or I didn't see that. Any kind of thing holding it up.
I want a nuts and bolts, full color, detailed description of what you saw on the ground. So please give me a full account right through to what you say included entities.
Well, I saw a triangular object that was about 20 feet across. It went up to a rounded kind of top. It had a reddish amber light at the top. It kept distorting and changing. It was snow white. It looked a little different in the movie. There were parts of it that it just didn't look aerodynamic. You didn't know what to think, and you weren't in the right kind of normal mindset like we are right now. And this being, thing, or whatever, I've never said alien, came off the surface of this object. It was
what do you see?
It was like a bubble. It depicted in Dion's film. The best way I describe it is just a part of the fabric of that craft separated on the ground, 3 feet above the ground, or a foot off the ground. I mean, these things in it faded out, and there were three individual looking. In fact, Bastin's is the one that said, "Why are these kids here?" It just, everything was bizarre, and it was there. And who else was there and to describe them, there was the big eyes, but it was like Ghost, okay? It looked like Ghost. It wasn't like Close Encounters, the little aliens come out and shake everyone's hands and off they go. It was very surreal and very surreal. Did it happen?
Okay, I need descriptions. So are they humanoid creatures?
Oh yeah,
what color are they?
Well, geez. They were like ghosts. Picture Casper the Friendly Ghost, but not friendly. Facial features, not really defined. Inside these lights, and you couldn't see the lower extremities very well.
Did they have arms? Did they have
oh
legs?
yeah. There were two arms, and it went down they were on the sides of these beings, things, non-humans.
Did they have hair, ears, nose?
No, nothing. It's the classic Communion. You ever see the book by Whitley Strieber, Communion? Of course, everyone's seen that cover. That face, that's what it was. It was one of those alien or non-human, because I don't say alien. They could be from Earth. I don't know.
So they had big black eyes, was it? What were
they
the eyes
had
look like?
almond-shaped kind of, the classic wraparound kind of eyes. That was the most defining image of the face.
Okay. What'd you think of that?
I have issues with that.
Okay.
The first video, he tells us these things that came off the ship are cylindrical. Here we're using the term bubble. Different deal. I also hate that Ross, in trying to help, went into leading. And just for our viewers to understand, so if I ask Brian, do you ever use your calendar as a to-do list? In other words, you put, to call the plumber on the calendar. And what I'm asking Ryan is give me a question that's yes, no, or I don't know. That's a leading question. What I wish Ross, who's really good at this, by the way, I'm not saying this is a criticism, because normally he's quite good. And it is very hard, even for people trained to do it, with a frustrating witness like this who wants to go everywhere and you're trying to funnel them into a very specific place. It's very hard not to lean on leading questions. But if he had asked things like, what did their eyes look like, as opposed to, were their eyes black and almond shape, or however he said that. So I wish we had that. We could get a little more veracity testing on what he was saying when asked in a proper form. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. What do you make of that?
Well, and this is where I'm kind of heading with this conversation is there were discrepancies between what I showed from 1994 and today. Of course, like how many try recalling something from 30, 40 years ago and have everything be exactly the same. I get that. Like, I totally understand.
Right.
But for me, it wasn't even that. It was the fact that, like, Larry spent most of this interview just being like, oh, screw the people who say I'm a liar and a fraud. Like, that's what they want you to hear. And
yeah,
I'm here to, I'm like, just tell us what you saw. If that's what you're here to talk about, tell us what you saw. And now he's saying that, and this is kind of the new revelation, that what he saw was a different craft from what everyone else saw, happening at the same time as other events that night with a craft. So while, Halt was like having his stuff go on, Larry was over in this Capel Green area in this open field, and there was like straight up like a meeting of military and aliens going on at Capel Green. It's just like, it's so much. And someone brought up in the chat like how much this story from all of the witnesses has evolved throughout the years, from like simple lights seen in a forest up to now two people touching the craft and one of them getting a download into their mind. And then now you got Larry saying that like this happened. You got other witnesses that said things happened weeks after that. Again, I'm not saying that none of this happened. I'm just saying, good Lord, what is it about this forest? And why can't any of these people get on the same page? And I think a lot of that has to do with egos. We see this all the time when it comes to UFO cases. It's not just the researchers who have egos, it's the witnesses as well sometimes.
That's exactly right.
And I brought this up on Vetted with Patrick. I have a connection to all of this tangentially. Now, many may know, but many don't know. I met Peter Robbins. He became my mentor in the UFO field, the gentleman who co-authored the book with Larry. And I am a playwright. And I approached Peter and Larry and said, I want to write a play about your writing of your book, Left at Eastgate. And they loved it. So I spent 3 years interviewing Peter and Larry on different occasions. And everything was going great. Like, play was going well. I was so happy with it. I was doing a lot of research at the time, and this was really early on in my UFO research as well. The Rendlesham case is one of the ones that I really kind of went after, and that was because of Peter. And a lot of people throughout the years said Larry Warren was never there. He's making all of this up. Nobody recalls him being there at all. And nobody can prove that either. This goes for Deputy Base Commander Charles Halt. This goes for John Burroughs, Jim Peniston, others that were involved as well. However, in this Ross Coulthart interview, I'm not going to play the clip because we're already going past the time I thought we would. Steve Longaro was another witness who was involved with an event that night. He says he just saw lights out in the woods at one point. But he's now saying that he did see Larry Warren there. Some 3, 4, 5 years ago, he told Peter Robbins, I want nothing to do with any of this, and I want nothing to do with Larry Warren. So what changed between then and now? I don't know. I can't pretend to know. The other big thing, and I am going to play this clip, is Peter Robbins and Larry Warren had a falling out to the point where basically their book was taken out of publication.
That's exactly right.
It was pulled
And think
from
about what has to happen, for our viewers to think what has to happen to take a book out of publication.
Yeah.
That is enormous.
And the reason for that is because it was found out that Larry Warren had, in fact, not been honest about a lot of things that had happened. This goes outside of the Rendlesham Forest incident. He had been caught doing, let's say, fraudulent things. I won't go into any further detail because I don't know a lot of the specifics, but basically he had forged things. He had just basically like made stuff up. I don't know how else to put it. This is not me saying that. I don't know that for a fact. These are the things that Peter found out personally and other researchers found out as well.
And then made a huge decision that I'm sure impacted his life and his finances negatively to pull a book out of publication. So, if Peter Robbins is making those kinds of life decisions based on what has happened with this fellow, then I think we need to give it a lot of credence.
I think so. And I hope so, because, maybe I'm biased. Peter has always been a close friend and colleague and mentor of mine. So obviously I'm going to defend him in all of this. I will say that first clip of him and Peter at Cape of Green is very convincing. And there's very little about how Larry Warren recounts this stuff that says that he's lying. However, Larry Warren is also an extremely charming person and can be somewhat manipulative. I mean, even going so far as to being like, Ross, like, I like you. You're a good guy. Like, we totally get, like, that's the kind of stuff a manipulator does to try to earn your trust. And when I heard the documentary filmmaker of Cape of Green say, I've been close with Larry Warren for 8 years now, and we've become very close. Of course, I believe him. Guess who else said that for over 2 decades? My mentor, who eventually had a falling out and took their British best-selling book out of publication because he no longer believed his co-author's story. And that has affected Peter Robbins. And that does continue to affect him. Do you mind if I play this clip from?
Please do. I think everyone needs to watch it so they can put all of this in the context in which we see it as well.
Okay, I appreciate it. And I hope you guys like it. Again, last clip will show, I promise. It's a little long, but I want you guys to see the impact this had on my mentor, Peter Robbins. The fact that he spent over 2 decades researching, investigating this case, working with this man, coming out with the book, and then eventually this all comes to light. I can't imagine it being easy.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip. Enjoy this, and then I promise we will close out the Larry Warren story for now, because I will be seeing the documentary, and I would like to interview Larry Warren at some point. More on that.
I would like to help with that outline.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and watch this.
Work on that one.
That's going to be the longest outline we've ever had, for sure.
Scroll it.
Okay, let's find this here. All right. So I have it. Okay, here we go. Here's me talking to Peter Robbins about Larry Warren, their falling out, and where he is today on all of this.
We came to New York the very following weekend, and
here we go.
Almost.
I did an extended recorded interview with him, which
Resolution
he
is
gave me permission
terrible.
to publish.
Sorry, guys.
And toward the end of Sunday, said, I think you're the person I'd like to write a book with. And, proposed what I considered fair terms, which was I be free to do this research in any manner that I wanted, and including if I could upturn his story and he would be free to get his account, on the record. I thought it would take a year or two, but it did not. It took 9 years, a good part of which was not pleasant, but it was an important project to me. And when he approached me, I had been at that point of looking to get involved in my first book-length project. I assumed it was going to be on abduction, but this kind of tipped the scales. And what I was not prepared for in any sense, it's really not part of my character or makeup, although we learn to compensate for these things over time when we need to, was the simple fact that somebody had approached me with the intention of deceiving me on very certain key issues, with the intent of enrolling me in then helping him to deceive others, which is exactly what happened. So much of his account hung together well, and the few things that didn't quite make sense, I was able to rationalize or to chalk off to post-traumatic stress, which I don't now believe that he had, just drinking a lot early on. And we commenced our research. After 5 months or so, we went to England, which I felt was great. It was my second trip to England. I knew that we would look more serious as author researchers if we actually went back to the location, unaware at the time that in September, I think I was back in the UK for the 25th time or thereabouts. But we began our work in earnest. And that very first night on location in Suffolk, February 18th, 1988, within sight of RAF Bentwater's perimeters, we had our own multiple UFO sighting, which was the most shocking thing I had ever seen since I was 14 years old, quite simply. And in a way, as far as enrolling me in his story, in completing the book with him, etc., the best thing that could have ever happened to my co-author. It was a matter at that point of me to say, you either believe him or you don't. And you've just had a display of, this extraordinary activity right here on location. And so we continued over the years. When the book was finally published, it did no better or no worse than any UFO book in the States, but partly because of random timing. The book was published in the UK in June of 1997, the 50th anniversary of Roswell, the Modern Age of UFOs. The small press that published the book in the UK really went all out in every way that they could, with a very constrained budget, to bring the book to people's notice. And it was a smash bestseller all over the United Kingdom, resulting in like a 13-city, 1-month book tour. One of the great experiences of my life. And for years after the fact, the book stood at a point of respect and continued to bring to me people I would have never met otherwise, opportunities to speak in locations I would have probably never visited, and a certain amount of respect that I would have not garnered had I not stuck with this project for so long. Unfortunately, it all started to really unwind in 2016 and 17, when one person after another started to come forward questioning my co-author's account in very specific terms, making contrary statements on record that completely negated each other, attacks, some of them in terms of the wording extremely violent, on people who simply were citing the truth, and then refusing to answer specific questions of mine regarding things that he had told me. And then my finding out that he had been making a living for the previous 20-odd years forging rock and roll memorabilia, and just as important, forging the provenance, that would accompany the work and learned how to work the system illegally and very well, in some cases very large and well-known auction houses. We have not been in touch for about 8 years in any manner, which is fine with me. And there is still a small clique of people that follow him, although so much has been published to completely show what a liar he is. Unfortunately, the main result of this in terms of my life as a writer and investigator was that the book I was most proud of is littered with exaggerations, confabulations, half-truths, truths, and has suffered greatly in reputation as a result. Once this information came to me, and I had to admit how wrong I had been for so long, I had to bring all of this information to the attention of our American publisher in New York City and say, my investigation shows that this is the result. You need to do your own investigation. And if you come up with the same results I have, then you have to do something that I really hate but needs to be done, which is this book has to go out of print. And that's exactly what happened. And that book has been out of print 8 years now and will not be going back in. It hurts in that there is so much I am proud of in that book, hundreds of parts of it. There are several hundred annotated, researched and confirmed footnotes, every one of which I stand by. My narrative is absolutely as true as it can be, except in the places where I believed and was misled by aspects of what I believed and was fed. As it stands right now, life goes on. I realized, there are only two ways you can handle something like this. There's a kind of Dick Cheney, my way or the highway. Real men don't admit they're wrong. You just hunker down and tough your way through it, because telling the truth is for sissies. And I spent more than a year following this. Every talk I gave, every interview I did on radio, every opportunity that people gave me to talk about this, to apologize, literally. And when I think of the list of well-known people I helped to mislead, I think of the list of the thousands of people that I don't know and will never meet, who took everything in that book seriously as a non-fiction account, which is just what it was billed as, not a non-fiction account informed by a fair amount of fiction.
What is the biggest lesson you learned from this entire experience when it comes to Left at Eastgate?
You termed it correctly, what I believe, because I don't know. At this point, I would say I do not believe his account of being taken underground and programmed and going through this fascinating stuff that he lays out in the book. If that happened, I think it happened to his roommate, who is one of the somewhat mysterious figures in this story, because he has been very careful never to give a full account. A gentleman named Adrian Bustinza, on the record, who made it clear to Larry that he was never going to talk about what he experienced or thought or believed he experienced. And that is another variable in this. Did certain aspects of this happen, or were they put into the heads of the individuals involved? I think Larry was in the Air Force. He was there at the time. He may well have had earlier UFO-related experiences. And I say this in great part because his late mother, a lovely woman who both Bud and I interviewed extensively, certainly maintained that she had been taken with clear memories of being inside a craft, etc. And this is a very proper Boston bred lady who is not prone to exaggerations, certainly not in the service of supporting anything her son had said. So there is that. Also, that Larry, the real modus operandi here, as far as I've been able to look back and put together, he really wanted to be a personality. He really wanted to be well known. He really wanted to be famous. And in his mind growing up, it was all around rock and roll. That didn't happen, in good part because he didn't have the musical chops to do it. And people say, well, why would anybody want to be famous for something like this? Well, if you want to be a public figure, the widgets that get you there are sometimes secondary. And this is what he chose to go with. And I was the person he chose to enroll in helping to sell that story, which is very different than what's happened with this situation with the British film production companies and Netflix, where there was the same intent to deceive, but not because they wanted to be famous for something, as much as that there was money to be made on this sensationalistic, bogus, absolutely outrageous type of presentation of what could have been an historic 3-part Netflix miniseries on the same UFO case. That's one of the things that drew me to it. What an opportunity. And of course, that didn't come to be.
Okay. I know that was long, guys. Thank you for bearing with us. But I wanted to show the impact this possible deception has had on my mentor and get his side of the story out while Larry is now at the forefront of the Capel Green Rendlesham case right now when it comes to this interview he did with Ross Coulthart in this and this subsequent documentary that's going to come out. What did Pat say there? I did miss that. Sorry. I'm glad you're showing this. People need to know.
People need
Thanks.
to see it. And you do. You need, in order to get a full view of what these things actually are as they roll out, you need to know these things. And you can make your own decision about whether you think it's true, it's false, or it's somewhere in the middle. I suspect it's somewhere in the middle.
I think you're right. You know, I think once it was found out that he had been less than honest and Peter cut ties, the book was taken out of publication, all that stuff, I was like, this guy made up everything. He lied about everything. Now I'm stuck, and that's ufology.
That's it.
Yeah.
Constantly in this wedge.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
You know, and I made this public on Patrick's show as well. To be fully transparent, my play that I was writing about Larry and Peter, everything was good. I had both of their blessings. I'd been talking to them, and then out of the blue, I get the most crass and frankly unsettling message from Larry Warren, or who I believe is Larry Warren. This is the person I'd been talking to for almost 2 years about the play, saying, if you continue writing this play, I'm not even gonna say. I have the
Wow.
evidence to back it up, but I felt threatened enough that I stopped working on the play. This was also the time where all of this had kind of imploded, and it was found out that he had forged things, he had lied about things, he had been caught doing fraudulent things outside of the UFO world as well. And meanwhile, you've got this whirlwind of all these people saying he was never even there, like this is BS, blah 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 blah, and it all came to a fever pitch. And I said, I can't continue
Can't
with
do
this
this.
play. Yeah,
No.
so
Well, there's
it was
no way to
heartbreaking.
clean it up in a way that you would ever be comfortable with. There may be a way now, Ryan, to rewrite it and insert some of what has gone
Mhm.
on and have a slightly different plot line. I don't know, but you might be borrowing trouble to do that.
I might, or yeah, it'll be the longest play in history. It's gonna reach like Henry VIII levels or something. But yeah. Thank you everyone for watching and going through this story with us. I don't know where I stand on Larry Warren. I change my mind all the time, but I think you're right. I think there is a strong possibility that he was there and he saw something. Peter mentioned in that clip he was taken underground. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Taken underground, threatened never to talk about this, was drugged, and it was like a truth serum to what did you see out there? Like, no, you didn't see that. All this. No one else has ever come forward and said that
Any of
happened
that.
to them. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
No one else has claimed to have seen beings out there in the forest. No one else has claimed to have seen people setting up video cameras to record all this. So it all rests on the shoulders of one man. And with his
An
past,
uncomfortable place to be. It's an uncomfortable
consider the source, guys. Consider the source is all I'm going to say. So I don't know. That's all I have. I've said my piece on this. I said my piece over at Vetted. Again, guys, if you want to go watch that interview, it just dropped about an hour ago. You can go over to the Vetted YouTube channel and watch that as well. Patrick gives it much more context and his personal thoughts on the Ross Coulthart interview with Larry and so much in between. Amazon Review says Holt says Larry was not present during the incident. Yes, Colonel Charles Holt has definitively said Larry was never there. I struggle with that too because like nobody knows where everyone is at the same time.
That's
you
right.
know. So like I don't want to take that away from anyone. Peniston, Burroughs, Larry Warren, Steve Longaro, Steve LaPlume, all these witnesses. Lori Reinfeldt, who's also another witness of events in Rendlesham Forest. There are a lot of people, and a lot of them have been, have come forward, and all of them have come forward because Larry Warren broke the story. So if anything, he did that. So
Right. Well, and a big disappointment for you and for Peter Robbins, as Amanda Rose was just mentioning in the comment that I put out. It's just, it had to be really hard for you to invest all that time, energy, and thought, and then have to do the same thing Peter Robbins did, which is walk away.
It did. I have a lot of separation from all of this. Like it sucks, but like I've shelved many a plays that I never got back to. But this one, I mean, this was the first time, Suzanne, where I was going to be able to mix my playwriting with my UFO work. I did it in my UFO work by focusing on people, characters with my UFO stuff. But on the other side, I was finally going to be writing a play about UFOs. It was a dream come true for me as a playwright. And it was so cool to like be working with a primary witness to a insanely interesting UFO case and the one of the biggest investigators on it, Peter Robbins. And then when all of this imploded, I was like, well, I guess that's 2 years of my life gone. But that's nothing compared to what Peter went through and continues to go through up until today. So
And in many ways, you were lucky you did not make it to a publication.
no, yeah, tell me about it.
I do think there might be another interesting take on it, though. Another way to do it with a different perspective.
I might have to pull that baby off the shelf. We'll
Move
see.
around on it. Yeah.
We will see. Yep.
Robert
Okay.
Chase is exactly right. Be honest and do your investigation and due diligence.
Make it.
Do it truthfully, fairly, honestly.
I'll get back to it, guys. You got my promise. The play. Hey, these things never die. They just they take little breaks, and I think maybe this story alone will get me pumped to do it again. Okay, I've got one more story to cover with you guys.
All right.
And you good? You good for another? I don't know. Let's see if we can do this in 5 minutes. I doubt it. At the 2-hour mark, guys. Thank you for being so patient with all of us tonight, guys. Thank you to our super chatters.
Now we have a bunch.
I want to thank UFOs around the world for the $1.99. Can we do a chat sometime, Ryan, on my channel? Absolutely. Yes, reach out to me. I have an email address in the show notes. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you for the offer and the invite. Again, to Kirk, thank you so much. Appreciate that, buddy. And then I saw Ebony McKickass. That's an awesome name. $5 Namacon 2025. Go UFO. I love it. Jamie, I'm so disappointed in these events, but thank you for sharing this information. Jamie, someone's got to do it. I saw the interview with Ross and I'm like, I can't just like let this go. I can't let it go without hearing the other side of the story. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Disappointing.
It is. It's all disappointing because like you would think by that first clip we showed, awesome. This is so cool. And then by the end, you're left being like, I just have more questions than answers. Like, what is going on here?
Right.
Man. Okay. You
That
ready
is
for
the
one?
UFO theme, right? More questions
It
than
is.
answers.
Every time.
A new title of your play now. More questions than answers.
I like that, actually.
You're welcome.
I like that. Awesome. You're a lawyer. You can get that copyrighted for me.
Oh, yeah.
right?
We'll figure that out. That out.
Our last story tonight, Suzanne, involves Ross Coulthart again. Now, we've been talking about this Tic Tac Lockheed Martin thing for at least 2 months now at this point. The poll. I need to change my vote on the poll.
I'll show everybody what we normally do to remember the poll.
Love it. Let's do it now. Why not?
Just knock it out.
Yeah, so we were finishing the Rendlesham story with your guys' thoughts on this. I asked over on YouTube, do you believe Larry Warren's account at Rendlesham Forest from 1980? And out of 81 votes, 42% of you do believe him. 11% say, no, I don't believe him. 43% said, I don't know yet. And 4% said, I'm not familiar with the case. Well, I think we changed that 4% tonight.
That's right.
A little bit more. There's documentaries out there. Go watch them. And I would say watch this new Capel Green one coming out.
Absolutely. We'll watch it and we'll analyze it.
Exactly. We'll be as critical as we would anything else.
And one of us will spreadsheet it.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Take a wild guess, guys. Who that's going to be. I am surprised, to be honest, at the amount of people who do still believe him. But I guess, at the end of the day, I do also, as Peter even pointed out, there may be aspects of this that are true.
Exactly.
But it
and I
does
think
bring
that
into
early
question
video, that early video just rings true.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it is what it is. Thank you guys for taking part in our poll. We'll see. We will see what happens as this documentary comes out, and I'm sure it will entice other witnesses to either come forward or either back Larry up or put this to bed once and for all.
That's right.
Or nothing will change, because it never does when it comes to Rendlesham.
Never.
I think I mixed up Larry with another witness from the poll, Amanda said.
Oh, she wants to change her poll vote.
Can you do that? I don't even know.
Mentally. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. We're ending with Ross Coulthart again because he did a Q&A on Reality Check where he was asked an interesting question about where is it here? Oh, he was asked about technology that Lockheed Martin may have had and what this means when it comes to foreign adversaries and whatnot and what they might have. And his answer was pretty interesting. He dropped more tidbits on stuff than he ever has before, which I found interesting. So let's watch the clip. And then I promise we'll start to close things out here, guys. And I've got one more quick video after that from Lockheed Martin, which is really interesting. Someone dug this up over on Twitter and it really caught my attention. But let's watch this Ross Coulthart one here. And we'll start to close things out, guys. So here's Ross talking about Lockheed Martin again, technology, foreign adversaries, and who might be in possession of non-human intelligence technology. Here it is, I think. Where are you? Boom.
So an email from Jonathan. Dear Ross, recently you've said that you believe the UAP reverse engineering efforts of Lockheed Martin are lagging behind the efforts of the Chinese government. Do you also have any sources which let you make any reasonable guesses or estimates of the progress in this area from the Russians or North Koreans or other entities like the EU?
That's a really good question. I'm surprised I haven't been asked it before. Okay, what do I know? I don't know a lot about China. But I do know that the Chinese are by far the most aggressive deployers of espionage on the ground spying in the United States, trying to find out what the US legacy reverse engineering program is up to. There is genuine concern from multiple sources that I've spoken to that the Chinese have stolen the leap on us with non-human reverse engineered technology, that they've recovered craft of their own, and that they have made advances far and beyond what the US has achieved. The concern among my sources is that there has been a complacence at the highest levels of national security in the United States, and that what we have is a looming 9/11 style situation where arrogant, hubristic men who love secrets have used secrets to conceal their incompetence. That's the concern at the heart of the legacy program, that essentially there is technology that has been recovered, but that a large part of the efforts to retrieve and reverse engineer that technology have been frustrated by the excessive compartmentalization, the excessive secrecy applied to those programs. Meanwhile, let's go to Russia for a moment. I know for a fact that certain scientists at a Naval Surface Warfare Center, an NSWC, were briefed in 2024 about Russia, about a place called Mount Yamantau. Now, I think a lot of you need to think about things that Donald Trump himself has acknowledged. A couple of times in the last few years, Donald Trump, President Trump, has suggested that there might be some kind of technology, some kind of super weapon that the United States has, and that our potential adversaries ought to be very wary of the United States because of that. He's never elaborated, and the supine lickspittles in the White House press room have always failed to ask any follow-up questions because they don't know how. But what I can tell you is that President Putin has said the same. Multiple times, President Putin has hinted himself that the Russians have some kind of super weapon. And I note that in the briefing at a certain Naval Surface Warfare Center, a chap called Vasily Buranok was cited. He's the former head of the Ministry of Defense in Russia 46th Research Institute and the president of an organization called RARAN, R-A-R-A-N. And in May of 2014, he said, quote, "On top of the list of high-tech weapons of the next generation and weapons based on new physical principles are weapons systems for energetic information impact in all media, space, air, ground, sea, underwater and underground, and at any range." Those are incredible statements. That was 11 years ago in 2014. He was followed, he was preceded by, in August 2011, Major General Vorobyov and Colonel V. Kiselev. They talked about achieving energetic surprise by mass employment of new types of weapons previously unknown to the enemy, and creating zones of energetic damage in vulnerable locations of the enemy that are unexpected by him. What are the Russians talking about? What were they talking about? I'm told they're talking about, among other things, what are called scalar weapons. They're indicating very, very strongly that a lot of the research being done at a place called the Yamantau Mountain Facility, Yamantau. Look it up, guys. Google it. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. The Yamantau Mountain Facility is Russia's Area 51. It's where a lot of the research is ongoing into, among other things, the Soviet Strategic Defense Initiative, a mountaintop free electron laser, underground X-ray and gamma-ray laser R&D facilities. And also in this same facility, neutrino beams for submarine communications, relativistic electron beams, ionospheric weapons, supercompression of powerful ion beams by strong magnetic fields, magnetic monopole micro black hole factory, weapons based on induced proton decay, micro-nuke gravitational wave detectors. This is where the Russians are doing their UAP research. A mountaintop called Yamantau. Now, interestingly enough, there's not a clear indication yet from the Russians as to whether or not they've had the breakthroughs that I suspect China has had.
My goodness. I'm so concerned for us as a species. First of all, we seem just determined to take ourselves out with our own weapons. And what a, I don't know what to make of all that.
I don't know what to make. Someone in the chat said, I can't find anything on scalar technology. Yeah, I literally was Googling that. What is that? I want to know what that is. But my God, there was a lot of technobabble said in there. I don't even know where to begin. I did find it interesting at the beginning that he mentioned he believes that other adversaries may have non-human intelligence technology and have reverse engineered it. Would make sense. We talked a lot about alien reproduction vehicles tonight as well. But now we have a place, James Craig, Yamato, where a UFO, what did he say? Where a UFO so big it's that the Russians had to build a building over it. Yeah, maybe finally we found out where it is.
Maybe that's it. I mean, seriously, I'm laughing at it. Don't know, but gosh, that'd be interesting. Ross seems to know so very much about this topic and has just been yakking on about this giant covered object as well. Be interesting if it's all in the same place.
Who knows? But yeah, a lot to decipher there. I can't even pretend to begin to break down all of those things, but it sounds like they're doing some really like 8th generation sort of experimentation over there in Russia. So what does that mean for the US and what does that mean for the UFO topic? I don't quite know, but it's interesting.
More about who he thought the lickspittles were.
Lickspittles. That's a new one for me. That is definitely a new one. I love that.
Very Southern term. I'm surprised to hear it from an Aussie.
From an Aussie, yeah, that is quite interesting. Yeah, he's trying to appeal to the Southern demographic of
Maybe
his
so.
nation.
Maybe so. But seriously, in terms of these weapons, what was it called when our military people were hit with basically microwaves, I think?
EMP pulses. Yeah.
Sounds like it's that on steroids.
Right? And they said that's the stuff that can like take down UFOs too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Ebony has a pretty interesting thing here. Scalar waves, possibly a neutrino, but electromagnetic waves passing through solid objects causing radiation effects in organisms. Ooh, that does not sound
brutal.
Good. No, thank you. I will not be getting the scalar wave package at the spa. Yeah, that ain't happening. I don't need that.
And Hingus answers the question for us in terms of Havana syndrome.
Got it. Yep. I remember when that was a thing.
We're all hitting the buttons at the same time. So
yeah, hitting the buttons. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Scary.
So, I mean, a lot of that wasn't about Lockheed, but it did bring up a lot of stuff going on in Russia, which is, again, interesting that Ross would be sharing all of this.
And we don't hear a lot about Russia.
We don't. We're always thinking China when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Right.
So I want to thank a Twitter account called UAP Watchers. They dug up an interesting video, a promotional video for Lockheed Martin from 2010. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's crazy. I want you to watch it and tell me this does not resonate with a lot of the conversation going on with Tic Tacs and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and play this quick and then we will close things out. Here is a Lockheed Martin promotional video from 2010.
It's like embed the carbon nanotubes to make conductive structure so that information doesn't flow through a wire next to a structure, but literally flows through the structure.
We'll be able to grow or make a structure that, say, is the skin of an aircraft, that inside of that is also contained the sensors or the energy storage or many different multiple functions.
New materials that are on the lab bench right now, they can literally change shape on command. They can become almost a muscular material.
We could have an airplane that optimizes its shape for the different flight conditions it's in.
There's definitely a lot of amazing technology that's going on with the Lockheed Samurai, based on a small maple seed-like looking device. The fact that we can package enough energy for something like that to fly and still carry a sensor, a camera, enough control capability for it to fly is amazing to me. As we go forward, we're going to find new ways of using these unmanned vehicles.
They'll probably be autonomous, so they'll be like UAVs, but carry cargo around where there are currently no infrastructure in place.
What is that?
We may have small swarms of small vehicles interacting with a larger vehicle that basically combines the information from that swarm. So maybe one vehicle flies a small distance and another vehicle learns from it and knows which way to fly.
Probably what makes sense is a heterogeneous swarm. One where not every element of the swarm is the same. Some elements of the swarm carrying sensors, some carrying other types of electronics. So it's an adaptable system that can adapt to a changing environment and a changing future that is difficult for us to predict.
The true value of research is not in the answer you get that you knew you were looking for, but the answer that you find that you didn't know to look for.
Okay.
That was 2010.
Yeah. Some of the things that jumped out to me and others on this. Growing aircraft skin that acts like a nervous system, sensors and energy storage woven into the material, data flowing through the structure without wires, surfaces that flex and morph on command like muscle.
Exactly. That and the concept of using more than one of these things to do different tasks.
Mhm.
And I think about so many of the eyewitness accounts who talk about swarms or 4 or 5 of these things that are working clearly together.
Yeah. Well, okay. Remember during the congressional hearing with Grush, where he was asked who are piloting these things, or what were their bodies found with these things, and he said biologics were found,
Right.
nervous system, muscles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That gave me the
Yeah.
creeps. Like the way they're describing this thing is almost human-like, like biological, sentient almost. That it can act like a human, and we don't even need like it learns from itself. It's just that could be considered non-human. That could be considered biologic in a way. The way
Yeah.
the skin of the craft, the energy flowing through it. Just this, I can't believe this is from 2010.
Amazing.
It could be swarms of these things around. The drone swarms, the UFO swarms that we're seeing over the Navy carrier. Like it seems like
Right.
Lockheed had predicted all of this stuff.
And maybe Ross is right.
and
Maybe
Ross
the Tic
was
Tac
right all along.
is Lockheed. I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy. What a good find from UAP
Right.
watchers over on Twitter. I found that fascinating. Where did they get that tech from? Robert
Absolutely.
says. Exactly.
Yeah, Bill and I
Um,
went back in time last night and we watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Ah.
And we both just busted out laughing at the scene where all the boxes stamped with Lockheed Martin go marching by. You know,
Oh
I think
man, you got me
Spielberg knows
coughing.
something.
I think he does. I think he definitely knows something. You know who knows a little something about David Grush? Suzanne Landers. And we have an update, a brief update. We don't know much yet,
We don't know very much.
But what's going on with David Grush?
Well, the last time we talked about Mr. Grush, his lawsuit had been dismissed by the Loudoun County Circuit Court, basically claiming that the judge did not see enough meat on the bone there for the lawsuit to continue. Simple way to say it, but that's basically what happened. And he had 30 days to appeal. And chitter chatter behind the scenes was that he was going to appeal. He was not happy. So yesterday, sure enough, a friend on Twitter tagged me to tell me, and I don't even know how he found it. I haven't been able to talk to him yet. But yesterday, Mr. Grush did in fact log what's called a notice of appeal at the Court of Appeals of Virginia. And so I have a file number and a docket number now. And I have already reached out to that clerk to ask for that copy of the notice of appeal. Now, everybody take a breath in terms of expecting to get substantive information very quickly. I don't think that's going to happen. The average notice of appeal is a very simple document that simply says, I don't agree with what happened in the trial court below, and I'm appealing as is my right. And I think that that's what we're going to see with Mr. Grush, because I did do enough legal research to know that he has an automatic right to appeal. It's not a circumstance where he has to show that a trial judge did a certain thing or didn't do a certain thing in order to be able to appeal. So I'm anticipating a very simple notice of appeal. So I don't think we're going to know a whole lot right off the bat. What will not be simple and what will be full of substance are the briefs as the briefs come. And this is a highly structured thing to do, an appeal. And there are timelines. And so I have downloaded their timeline rules, and I'll be applying those rules as things get filed, and we'll know kind of how quickly it's going to progress. And I'll be sharing what I can as we get it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I love how, God, when I think this thing is done, something else happens.
He's not done.
You are on the case, Amanda says. Great work, Suzanne.
I'm on it, Amanda. I'm on it.
Good on Grush, Kat says.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure, for sure.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Before we go, I'll just tease that we have a brand new episode of the podcast premiering in just under an hour here in the UK. It'll be available to everyone in the coming hours, and it is called Loving the Alien. The subtitle of the episode is 3 Days in the Mirror World of Modern Ufology. I had the amazing opportunity to interview Eric Benson, who is a reporter and investigative journalist, and he wrote this incredible piece in The Baffler, which is an online magazine, and it was about him attending the UFO and the Impossible conference put on by Rice University with Jeffrey Kripal and speakers like Garry Nolan, Diana Pasulka, Jacques Vallée, stuff like that. So this is a guy who has never thought twice about UFOs, and he embedded himself into a 3-day UFO conference. And I found the article
I can't wait.
Fascinating, and the interview even more fascinating. So you're going to hear all about this from an outsider's perspective of the UFO community with Eric Benson in just a couple hours. I loved this interview. It's been one of my favorites in a while. So be on the lookout for that. We got some more interviews coming your guys' way. Like I said, we're in a weird migration period going over to SpectraVision. So this episode will be coming out for sure on time. Next week, I'm not so sure. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what you guys can expect in just under a couple hours. If you want it right now, early, you can get it over on Patreon. It's already available to you guys. Wonderful episode. Thank you so much, Amanda, for the super chat. Wonderful episode. I'm glad I was able to catch this one live. Take care. Feel better. Thank you. I'm gonna try. Speaking of which, I should probably go get more of this miracle drug, whatever it is. But yeah, my God, we covered so much, Suzanne. I'm gonna let you go get some rest. I'm gonna get some rest. You guys get some rest. Let's come back next week and see what the hell has happened in the crazy world of UFOs. Where can people find you if they want to find out more of what you got going on?
I'm on Facebook primarily, Suzanne Westerman Landers, but you can also email me at SuzanneLanders@me.com.
Perfect. And all of our links are in the show notes, guys, as well. Like I said, go over to Vetted and check out that episode I did with Patrick where I go more in depth about Larry Warren, and so does Patrick. I can't wait to go watch it after this. I'm going to be biting my nails. I hope I sounded okay. I felt like I was just
sure you did great.
blabbering. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what the YouTube comments have to say. I'm
Oh
nervous.
gosh, it's been brutal this week, especially for
Yeah.
Ross. Ugh.
They always are. They always are. Awesome, Suzanne. Thank you so much, as always. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to all our super chatters, everyone listening to this in the future. Rate and review on Apple and Spotify if you can. We would truly appreciate that. Helps us get up in the featured stuff over there. Like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching, and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of tonight's episode and the stories that we covered. So yeah, that's going to do it. Let's get out of here with our
Good night,
outro.
everybody.
Good night, guys. And thank you. Thank you, as always. Keep your feet on the ground, but never stop searching somewhere in the skies. Take care.
There's nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide at all.